And Denver7 is proud to host this debate along with the University of Denver and our news partners, the Denver Post. And John Frank and I will be asking the questions of the candidates Monday and Tuesday. He's here now along with Sara Chatfield, assistant professor in the political science department, at the University of Denver. So thank you both for being here. So we get to talk about these debates, and our timing, I think, is impeccable, right? Because this is their last opportunity, really, these candidates, to get their faces and their positions out there. John?
Well, the debate comes a week before the election, and that many people being undecided, even at the beginning of the month, is unusual. So it's really going to come down to how the candidates differentiate themselves. Everyone tuning in is probably not sent in a ballot yet. They may have a favorite, but they haven't made that solid choice yet. So it's going to be a do-or-die debate for some of the candidates, who, particularly those who are lagging in the polls.
And go ahead, Sara.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to agree, and I think it's particularly interesting this year, given the number of unaffiliated voters who may not only be choosing a candidate, but be choosing which ballot they're going to cast. And they may not even have made that decision yet.
And I think it's also interesting that we've seen, I think, a couple of races that have gotten particularly interesting, nasty, so to speak, right?
Yeah, on the Democratic side, Jared Polis is up with another big TV advertising buy, using most of that money to attack Kerry Kennedy. Those two have been going back and forth on education. We had the Sierra Club go up with an ad that Mike Johnston thought was unfair, false even, because it did not say that he too is not accepting super PAC, or corporate donations and PAC money. He and Polis are the only two candidates doing that. The Sierra Club just took that ad down because they acknowledged it was false. So there's been a lot of back and forth on the TV ad debate.
Yeah, and I think an important thing to kind of note here with these negative ads from multiple candidates is who's paying for them. It's not the campaigns themselves, it's super PAC money, which from a legal perspective, candidates aren't actually supposed to be coordinating on those ads at all. Now, there sometimes is, wink, wink, nudge, nudge sort of relationship around those things. It's not that there's no influence, but candidates certainly don't have full control over what super PACs or other groups like the Sierra Club, how they're going to portray the campaigns in that advertising.
But that too has become an issue within these within these races.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one I think we'll probably have to ask about during the debate, because there's no way around the negative attacks here, whether they're coming from the candidates themselves or from the super PACs. And the ads are designed to contrast between the candidates. That's what voters rely on to make some decisions, so that they're not entirely all bad, but they have to be accurate, truthful, and we've seen a lot of untruthful ads on both sides, the Republican and the Democratic governor race.
So as we talk about the race for governor in Colorado, talk about the national implications for this race. I know it's still the primary, but I think people all over the country are watching this race, right?
There are definitely some big headlines here. Well, first of all, we've got Mitt Romney's nephew, Doug Robinson, running the Republican side. We have a Bush family member and Walker Stapleton running against him. And then on the Democratic side, Jared Polis is not only putting in record money for Colorado into his campaign, but he'd be the first openly gay Democrat elected nationwide. So you've got some really big storylines going, not to mention two women candidates in Colorado. We've never had a woman governor.
And why is that? I mean, that is one of your areas of study.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Colorado historically actually was early on some measures of women's rights, and we've had quite a few women in the assembly, but never in that top spot. And that's actually true, although other states have had women governors. Those sort of executive branch, leader of the state positions are an area where it's been particularly challenging for women to sort of crack that glass ceiling. And even where women have held many seats in the state house and many other positions in states, haven't been so successful at the governor level. So Colorado's not necessarily unusual in that.
Even though we've got women running in our race, another national trend is they're running up against well-funded men who are running in all the same offices. So it's this pink wave, as it's called, could be really tested here in Colorado.
I think it's absolutely something to watch, particularly in November, all over the country. And then you mentioned being well-funded. And we've all talked about this. Do you have to be a multi-bazillionaire to be a politician these days?
It sure seems like it in this race, because even you can look down the ballot, you've had Doug Robinson, Donna Lynn, Walker Stapleton, Jared Polis, all put some significant sums of their own money into the race, and even Noel Ginsburg, who was a Democratic candidate who's since dropped out, he spent a lot of money and didn't even make the ballot.
All right, well, thank you both. We are looking forward to the debates Monday and Tuesday.